and welcome to Basic Paragraph Writing. This series of lessons is going to be an introduction to academic writing. So we're basically just going to focus on paragraph writing rather than the whole academic essay. This will get you prepared for essay writing. So let's continue. Basically, in today's course, what we're going to do is first we're going to see what actually is a paragraph. We're going to break it down into parts and kind of define each part and what it should be and what it shouldn't be. And then we're going to develop some ideas for paragraphs, otherwise called brainstorming, if you've heard of that. We're going to talk about strategies to come up with content for your paragraphs. The next part is going to focus on topic sentences, which is the most important part of a paragraph, basically, as I will tell you later. It basically is your entire paragraph in one sentence. So we'll find out about that more later. The fourth part is that we're going to talk about the supporting and concluding sentences. And remember, this is just an overview, so we're going to go into more details later, and you're going to learn different types of paragraphs in more detail later on. And then we're going to just wrap it up with a brief review of all of the things that you've learned in this just short introduction. Okay, so we're at part 1, and we are going to talk about the parts of the paragraph. So the basic question we have is, what is a paragraph? So paragraphs are groups of sentences about one topic or idea. There are several types of paragraphs, such as a comparison paragraph, which you can guess. You would compare two different things, but you're not going to say the differences here. That would be a contrast paragraph. So comparison paragraphs would just state the similarities between two things or ideas. A process paragraph tells you how to do something in an organized fashion. So if I wanted to learn how to make eggs, then I would, or if I wanted to tell someone how to make eggs, I would write a paragraph about how to write eggs. I would say this paragraph will tell you how to write eggs in 3 easy steps. A narrative paragraph tells a story. So there are 4 features of a paragraph. And these are necessary features, so they must be there. First of all, we need our topic sentence. Like I said before in the introduction, that is basically your paragraph in a sentence because it wraps up the entire paragraph and says what it's going to be about and what it's not going to be about. Okay? It needs to be about one topic. So if you want to write a paragraph about how to make an apple pie, you can't talk about that one time where grandma dropped the pie on the floor and it splattered everywhere. So it's one topic. Even though you have that great story, you can only focus on one topic. Okay, so the next one is an indented first line. I'm going to show you this in the later slides, but this is absolutely necessary. An indented line is about a ½ inch, and we'll show you everything later. Okay, so the fourth thing that a paragraph must have is a concluding sentence. And this sentence needs to close the paragraph very nicely and eloquently so that your reader has something to leave with instead of a whole bunch of ideas. It kind of just wraps it up in a logical ending. Okay, here, we're going to have a look at this paragraph here, and I want to just analyze the parts in this slide and some subsequent slides. So first, what we can see is that this paragraph is about children and pets. That should be our topic. And you can see that there's a space at the beginning of the paragraph. We're going to talk about that. So let's continue. So my first question for you is, where is the topic sentence? All right, so obviously I have highlighted it for you. And the truth is that most of the time you're going to find the topic sentence at the beginning of the paragraph. And I rarely see a paragraph where it's not there. The point here is we don't want to trick our reader. We want to be as straightforward as possible. And we want to tell the reader exactly what the paragraph is about at the very beginning. Okay, so my next question for you is, what is the topic? So the obvious answer here is, well, the topic is children and pets. A good writer makes titles that accurately explain the subject matter of a piece of writing. Also, once the topic is stated, no other topic can be discussed in the paragraph because it must keep paragraph unity. But since this is only an introduction, I'm gonna talk about this concept later in the course. However, this paragraph contains one sentence that is not united with the rest of the paragraph or the actual topic. So I want you to pause the video and read through the paragraph, and I want to see if you can find the sentence, okay? And we're back. Okay, so what is the topic? We know at the topic is in the first sentence, parents have decided whether or not to allow their children to have pets. So let's take a look. Is there any part of the paragraph that children and pets are not exactly the focus? Now, if you've picked this red line that has a strike through on it, then you are correct. Cats is not really, it is somewhat related, but it's not the exact topic. So cats are out. They may be good pets, but it's not the focus point. And also part of this line says, but I do not like it when they shed their hair all over. Okay, that is an opinion. It's way far away from this topic, so it needs to be dropped completely. This paragraph should definitely not be talking about the author or cats. So while the topics may be related, they are not the focus area of the paragraph, and just cross out and omit them. Where is the indentation? So we need to know that every paragraph needs to be indented. But what does that mean? And where is it? Well, let's see on the next slide. If you already know where the indentation is, well then congratulations. It's right where this yellow arrow is. So this space before the first word is called an indentation. And it's a signal to your reader that a new idea is beginning. So if you were writing an essay, every time you see an indentation, you would say, oh, a new paragraph is beginning. There's a new idea in this paragraph. Let's pay attention. It also allows your reader to get ready to hear something new. So you can make an indentation on your computer by pressing the Tab key. And on a piece of paper, if you're using handwriting, you would measure a half-inch space from the margin of the paper. And you'll see more clearly on the next slide. Okay, at this sample paper, we're still looking at the indentation here. So I want to draw your attention below the heading, and you can see that there's a 1-inch margin where the normal text will come. So you see the heading and some 2 lines at the bottom of the paragraph. Those are 1 inch. So the indentation needs to be an additional half-inch away from the margin, or an additional half-inch away from the edge of the paper. So the indentation is not included in these margins. So it's an extra space, as you can see, how the paragraph contains the indentation in the first sentence after the title. Okay, I've kind of added this slide in here. It wasn't presented to you before, but I'd like to ask you, where are the supporting sentences? Supporting sentences give more information, details, and descriptions about a topic. So you're gonna, most of the time, you're gonna find them between the introduction and the conclusion. So let's take a look on the next slide what it actually is. Okay, so you can see clearly where the yellow color is, that these are the supporting sentences. The only one that I did not add in this is the one from before where the cats are good pets, because obviously if it's not relevant, it's not good support. It does not help your topic. And every one of your supporting sentences needs to just be as closely related to your topic. So that one is not concluded. And the ones that I have not included are the topic sentence and the conclusion, which will lead us into the next slide for concluding sentence. Okay, so the concluding sentence of a paragraph usually states the main point again, or it can summarize the main idea of the paragraph. We will talk a little bit more about its function later. Often a key word or phrase from the topic sentence will appear in the concluding sentence. Also, it might offer a suggestion, opinion, or prediction. So these are some ideas to consider if you are stuck at the end of a paragraph and just need to come up with a conclusion. Oh, maybe I should just give my audience a suggestion. Oh, well, the easiest thing I could do, I'm just going to summarize it. Or I'm going to give my opinion. Or I'm going to predict something. You know, all of these things will help it wrap up nice and easy. So here is the concluding sentence of the paragraph. And let's just take a little close look at this. At the beginning of the sentence, it says, in brief, comma. So this transition here is very, very common with concluding sentences. It actually is a signal to your reader that we're coming to a close here, and I've given you all my information. Now I'm going to wrap it up. Okay, when I said the topic sentence before was the most important thing, maybe I neglected to say that the title is also just equally important. You need to write a good title that's going to interest your reader. So let's say you're writing a paragraph about a time when you burned some scrambled eggs. So, what would be the best title for your paragraph? Remember that a title tells you what you will find in a piece of writing, like a book, movie, or a story or paragraph. A title can never be a sentence, and it is often short and to the point. Sometimes titles can just be one word, like Spider-Man or Batman or Titanic. It needs to be catchy and interesting so that your reader picks it up and says, hey, I want to read this. Okay, so let's take a look at this. The first title here says, I burned the eggs. That has a subject and verb, I burned. So that is actually a poor title because it should not be a sentence. Okay, let's look at the next one. Burning the eggs. Oh, poor title. The meaning of this one is not accurate. It sounds like you're going to tell us how can we burn eggs? So that's definitely not what you want your reader to think. We don't want to fool them. We want to tell them the truth, but we still want to keep them interested. Let's look at the next one. Cooking scrambled eggs. Okay, another poor title. The meaning here is not accurate. It sounds like you're just going to explain how to cook scrambled eggs, but I mean, to someone who wants to hear a story about a bad experience or just how to cook scrambled eggs, you're going to get the wrong audience. So this is still poor because it kind of lies to your audience and gives it a false hope for something different. Okay, so the next one. A bad experience with scrambled eggs. Better. However, it's not clear whether it's about eating or cooking eggs. So let's look at the last two. A cooking disaster. Good. It sums up the paragraph, but does not tell you exactly what happened. A kitchen disaster. Okay, good as well. It sums up the paragraph, but does not tell you exactly what happened. So those are great titles to just be a good example to you as how you should form your own titles. So the next thing we're going to talk about here is a tip for editing your paragraphs. And we're going to talk about fragments. And when you think of the word fragments, think of something that's broken and it's not complete. Once you have finished writing your paragraph, you should begin the process of editing. And one major error that you should look for is sentence fragments. And if I'm giving feedback on a paper, I may just write the word frag, and maybe you've seen it with a teacher before. They've just written on your paper frag with a period or something like that. That tells you that your sentence is not a complete sentence and you need to complete it. So what is a fragment? Fragments are not full sentences. They are missing a key part of the sentence, such as a subject or a verb. Let's look at these examples. In the yellow, it says, wheat is grown in Argentina. Okay, sentence contains a subject and verb. It's actually correct. Let's look at the next one in red. Wheat in Argentina. This sentence does not contain a verb, so it's incorrect. Another error that you need to check for is run-on sentences. This is going to confuse your reader because it will just, it will make them like wonder, when does the sentence end? What's the focus of the sentence? What's the idea here? It will weaken your writing so much. So, okay, what is a run-on sentence? A run-on sentence is two sentences incorrectly joined without a comma or the coordinating conjunction. Okay, and coordinating conjunction, if you know your fanboys, there are no fanboys, okay? There may be, and there might be missing a comma, but it's going to be either one, a comma or a coordinating conjunction. Okay, so let's see. I went to Italy and saw Rome. I didn't get to see Milan. Okay, and if I saw this in your paper, I'm going to write R/O because that is a run-on. And that's my tip for you, that you need to like break it into sentences or add a comma and a coordinating conjunction like and, or, but, so, yet, nor, or, for. So the correction here, you can do one of two ways. I went to Italy and saw Rome, comma, but I didn't get to see Milan. Or you can say, I went to Italy and saw Rome, period. I didn't get to see Milan. So to correct a run-on sentence, add a comma and conjunction, or separate the two sentences using a period. You may also use a semicolon if it's appropriate. And the only way it would be appropriate to do so is when the sentences are just greatly related. Okay, another editing tip, comma splices. These need to be in your radar. A comma splice. Think comma splice like there is a comma. So the name is very similar to what it is. A comma splice occurs when two or more sentences or independent clauses are connected with only a comma. Okay, there's no coordinating conjunction here. It's just a comma. So that is wrong. I went to Italy, comma, it was a wonderful trip. Editing code here would be C/S for comma splice. When you think of comma splice, think comma, like comma, and splice, like it's a slice of a sentence, just sliced in half. And then you can remember comma splice. So the correction here is, I went to Italy, comma, and it was a wonderful trip. So you can add a conjunction, or the second option, I went to Italy, period. It was a wonderful trip. Create two sentences. Also, if you feel it's appropriate, you can add a semicolon. No problem. Okay, so from here, we've kind of gone over the paragraphs and the major parts, like the topic sentence, the support, the indentation, the concluding sentence, the title. We've seen all of that. The next important thing that we need to talk about is how to develop some ideas for writing a paragraph. So let's talk about the brainstorm. So what is brainstorming and how does it happen? Brainstorming is when you come up with ideas. And it occurs when you quickly write down ideas just as they come into your head. Write down any and all ideas, even if you think they may not work out. Hey, you never know. Um, so these are your two main strategies. Think about the topic. Think about it deeply. Think about other perspectives. Think about how someone else might think about it. Think about your opinion and then think about the opposite opinion. Write down as many important words and ideas that come to your mind. And so there's two ways that you can brainstorm. You can brainstorm in lists or clusters. So what I want to draw your attention to is the cluster. Lists are pretty simple, but the cluster is a little bit more organized. So here I've kind of given you a very simple cluster brainstorm. This is the structure of the cluster chart. You start out with the main idea in the very middle, where I've written topic, and then you come up with specific ideas for your topics. So if my main topic was something easy, I would think, oh, okay, something easy. Peanut butter jelly sandwich, easy to make. Making eggs, planting a seed is easy, and then those would go into my four major bubbles. I mean, that was just three, but I'm just coming off the top of my head here. So I would cross out, maybe two of them. I like planting a seed, so let's talk about that. And then in my subsequent circles, I'm going to come up with, the specific ideas that I would talk about in that paragraph. So if we're coming up with a main topic, you may just receive a prompt from your teacher. Like maybe your teacher says, write about something that's easy to do. And then you would write that in your main topic, and then you would start coming up with topics around that. And you don't need to have just four. You can just branch out and have as many as you like. Okay, so we've talked about paragraph and brainstorming. Now we're going to talk about the topic sentences, how to write them, what they look like, the main basic structure, and let's see. Okay, the topic sentence. A topic sentence tells us about the main idea of a paragraph, and it is most often located at the beginning of a paragraph, and it has 5 major features. So let's just find out what those are. Okay, topic sentence feature number 1. The topic sentence controls or guides the whole paragraph. In other words, the reader knows exactly what the paragraph will talk about. There are no surprises. Remember that. Your topic sentence is a promise to your reader that you will only talk about this topic. So even if you really wanted to give some extra details that are really interesting, save it for another paragraph that focuses on that. We do not want to confuse a reader. They will get a headache. Okay, topic sentence feature number 2. A good topic sentence is not a fact that everyone accepts as true. In fact, facts are more likely to be used as specific details. For example, Barack Obama is the President of the United States. Okay, this is not a good example of a topic sentence because this sentence does not begin a good paragraph, as it does not have a topic that's open for discussion. Okay, topic sentence feature number 3. A good topic sentence is specific. Let's compare. Tea is delicious. Okay, not good. It's way too general. I have no idea what you're going to talk about. Green tea has many health benefits. Oh, well that's great because it's specific and it has a topic to control, because we can talk about green tea and we'll talk about each health benefit. Okay, let's move on to topic sentence feature number 4. A good topic sentence is not too specific. All right, let's give you an example. This dictionary contains more than 42,000 words. Wow, that's not good. It's way too specific to start a whole paragraph about it. So avoid specific facts and details. Let's move on. Topic sentence feature number 5. A good topic sentence has a controlling idea. It includes words or phrases that help guide the flow of ideas or organization of the paragraph. For example, an egg salad sandwich is one of the easiest and most delicious foods to make for lunch. The topic here is an egg salad sandwich, and the idea that controls that topic is that it's easy to make. So in the previous slide, when we talked about green tea has many health benefits, or 2 slides ago, the controlling idea there was has many health benefits, and the topic was green tea. In this part of the lesson, I'd like to draw your attention to another common problem in writing, and that is where to put commas. So let's just talk about a couple of the rules that I'd like you to know. Commas separate lists of 3 or more things. So, for example, I speak English, comma, Japanese, comma, and Spanish, comma, and Japanese. So those are 3 things, and we are going to put commas after the first 2 things. Next, commas separate 2 sentences when there is a combining word. We also call that a compound sentence. I speak 3 languages, comma, but Adam speaks 5. So there's 2 full sentences here. I speak, Adam speaks, but a comma connects them with a coordinating conjunction. Commas separate an introductory word or phrase from the rest of the sentence. First, comma, you will need to get a pencil. So this introductory word needs to be separated from the sentence because it's kind of a signal or a sign that this is telling us what the next sentence will be about. Next, commas separate a dependent clause that comes at the beginning of a sentence. This only happens when they come at the beginning. So let's take a look at the example here. Because I speak 3 languages, comma, I can communicate with many people. If we didn't have that comma there, we might not know where the subject of the sentence is. So as long as the dependent clause is coming at the beginning, there will always be a comma at the end. However, if the dependent clause is coming second or at the end of the sentence, then for sure there will not be a comma before it. Okay, moving on. Commas separate an appositive from the rest of a sentence. An appositive is a group of words that renames or explains the noun before it. You can see the appositive in the example. It's in yellow color. Fiber, a substance that is important in limiting certain types of cancer, is found in popcorn. So you see this yellow part, a substance that is important in limiting certain types of cancer? That's the appositive. It's additional information about a noun. So you're going to add commas around it. Next and last, commas separate extra information that's provided in adjective clauses. So if you have an adjective clause, which is additional information that does not help you further identify the topic, then you need to put commas. That just shows that it's extra information. So here we're talking about a specific book, The History of Korea, and we follow with which is on the teacher's desk. Oh, that doesn't give us more information because we already know the specific book. So we're going to put commas around it, and then we're going to continue along with our sentence. Okay, so we are moving on to our last part here before our review. And this part is just going to focus on supporting and concluding sentences. As we mentioned briefly before, supporting sentences give information that explains and expands the topic of the paragraph. They can often answer questions like who, what, where, when, why, and how. Think about questions that a reader may have when writing supporting sentences. That will help you come up with content, and it will also make it interesting for your reader. Okay, here's another important tip for your supporting sentences. Use pronouns in place of key nouns. Let me explain that for you. Because a paragraph is often about one topic, writers often have to repeat the same noun over and over again in supporting sentences. Wow, word repetition means bad writing. So let's use pronouns in the place of key topic nouns. So let's take a look at some of the examples. First, let's look at the explanation. Pronouns take the place of a person, place, or thing. So, for example, Carla would turn into the pronoun she. Washington would turn into it, or any other thing or place or idea. Giraffes, which is plural, would turn into they. Okay, now let's look at the example on the right-hand side. One of the best cities to visit in the U.S. is Washington, D.C. It has some of the most interesting landmarks and tour spots in the country. So here, it refers back to Washington, D.C. because we're using a pronoun to take the place of a thing. A place. Okay, so let's move on. Now, remember, you need to be consistent. So this is not just taking the place, pronouns taking the place of nouns, but if your topic is plural or singular, it needs to remain the same way throughout the entire paragraph. So if we're talking about giraffes, they can't turn into it. So let's look at the example here. This is correct. Giraffes are among the most interesting African animals. They are easily recognized by their long necks. A common mistake here would be if instead of they, we wrote it is easily recognized by its long neck. That would be incorrect because we want to maintain consistency throughout. So we're going to maintain plural or singular with our topic. Okay, if you haven't already guessed, there's lots of kinds of supporting sentences. Supporting sentences can have different goals, and they can vary from the following list. You may have something that explains, you may have a sentence that describes, gives reasons, and gives facts, gives examples, defines. So let's look at some of these examples. Explain. If I'm going to have a supporting sentence that explains something, it's going to sound like, the family moved for economic reasons. If it's going to describe, it's going to give us details, like, she lived in a lovely three-story castle, that's meant to be castle, surrounded by a dark forest. Give reasons. Lucas finally quit his job because of the stressful working conditions. Give facts. More than 10% of the university's student population is international. There's a good statistic. Give examples. Oranges and grapefruits grow in California. Define. Many tourists visit Bangkok. Okay, not a definition, however, let's continue. Which is the capital and largest city in Thailand. So that kind of defines what Bangkok is. So that's all the stuff these are all the kind of supporting sentences that you're going to want in your supporting sentences. Okay, finally we're getting to our concluding sentences here. This is exciting. Okay, so the concluding sentence is the last sentence of the paragraph. So what you're going to do in the concluding sentence is you're going to signal to your reader that the topic that you're talking about is coming to an end. The concluding sentence can have one of four main functions. First, it can restate the main idea, which is pretty simple. Just repeat the topic sentence in a different way. Or it can offer a suggestion, it can give an opinion, and it can make a prediction. So let's take a look at each one in more detail. Okay, concluding sentences. Let's talk about restating the main idea. This is hands down the easiest way to conclude a paragraph. Just restate the main idea. Let's take a look at an example. At some point, most parents have to decide whether or not to allow their children to have pets. Concluding sentence, in brief, although many children want a pet, parents are divided on this issue for a number of reasons. The information in this concluding sentence is very similar to the topic sentence. In addition, the concluding sentence includes the phrase, a number of important reasons, because the paragraph includes several reasons for allowing or not allowing children to have pets. Another function of a concluding sentence can be to offer a suggestion. Let's take a look at the example. Snorkeling can be one of the most amazing adventures you can ever take part in. Let's offer a suggestion here in the concluding sentence. If you want to have one of the most beautiful experiences that anyone can ever have, you should try snorkeling for a day. In the example above, the topic sentence introduces snorkeling as an amazing adventure, and the concluding sentence offers a suggestion that the reader should try something. Okay, we're still talking about functions of concluding sentences. Another function is to give an opinion. Here's an example. Fortunately, my parents were very strict with me when I was a child. Looking back, I am not sorry that my parents were strict with me because I think it was the best way to bring up a child. In the example above, the topic sentence explains that the writer's parents were very strict. In the concluding sentence, the writer gives his or her opinion that being a strict parent is the best way to raise a child. Okay, the final function of a concluding sentence. Make a prediction. What is a prediction, you may ask? Well, a prediction is just telling the future. What do you think is going to happen in the future? No one really knows, so we can only just predict. A topic sentence example. The menu at Fresh Market, one of the newest restaurants in downtown Springfield, consists of only 5 main dishes that are simple but very delicious. Okay, so let's make a prediction. Oh, I think I made a mistake here. But if you eat a meal at Fresh Market, I am sure you will enjoy it tremendously. So here he predicts, or he or she, the writer predicts that the reader will enjoy this restaurant. And that's the prediction. In the example above, the topic sentence informs us that the menu at Fresh Market only has 5 dishes and they're very delicious. And the concluding sentence makes a prediction that you will enjoy this place very much if you eat there. This slide contains very important words that you should try to incorporate in your writing. You'll commonly find words and phrases like these at a concluding sentence. Some of them can be used other places, and some of them it would maybe not be so much advised, such as in conclusion. That definitely will most of the time I would say 99% comment the conclusion or concluding sentence. Also, I want you to notice with these phrases that there is a comma placed at the end, and when you place it at the beginning of the sentence, you need to keep that comma there. So let's read through these. As a result, overall, for this reason, certainly, because of this, surely, in conclusion, therefore, for these reasons, clearly, thus, in brief. Now that we have a good understanding of parts of the paragraph, brainstorming, topic sentences, supporting sentences, concluding sentences, and some basic errors, it's time that we just review everything that we've learned briefly so that we can move on to look at more details into specific types of paragraphs. So let's continue. So at this point, you've learned the features of a paragraph, A paragraph has a topic sentence with a controlling idea. All of the sentences in the paragraph relate to the main idea, and the first line of a paragraph is always indented. The concluding sentence brings the paragraph to a logical end. Finally, let's just review some of the rules to make sure that you can edit your writing effectively. Each sentence must contain a subject and verb that agree with each other. Check each sentence. The verb tense in the paragraph must stay consistent. Check the verbs of each sentence. Carefully review capitalization, comma usage, and end punctuation, otherwise meaning the periods at the end of your sentence. Check for fragments, run-on sentences, and comma splices. Use pronouns to avoid too much repetition of a topic. Okay, now we've come to the conclusion of our introduction to academic paragraph writing. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson and are ready to move on to learn more specific paragraph writing.